guessing the function called wrap text.
Yes.
It's in there. I think it's in the next line. So two.
Next line.
It
So yes.
disappears.
Yeah.
Make sure it shows up somewhere. Okay, and then my last thing. Oh, on the first page with the projects, we have, the third one says add 20 classes to LHS, expand commons, accommodate CTE modulars. And if you go to the next page, the first one says improvements to LHS to expand career and technical education. So, do we want CTE listed twice?
I won't answer that question because that's not for me, but I will say that try to explain the difference between the two. They're not the
Okay.
same.
Oh, they're not, okay.
One is the facility structure, and one is more around the equipment that would be required for certain CTE courses. We didn't put it all in one bucket, we split them out. So one is equipment related.
All right.
Mr. Street, while everybody's thinking, can I add one thing just for the record, and so we're not misunderstood or so not here misunderstood? The fairness formula page has certain schools and/or programs with an asterisk next to them, which may be confusing to some. What that means, what the intent of that is, the way it's written here, is that if a school is being replaced with a new school, such as School in the Woods, or the existing school or program is going to move into a new facility, meaning brand new constructed, brand new facility doesn't exist today, they would then be ineligible or would not receive the formula dollars. That was the discussion that was had at the time. And that's what's assumed in all the numbers here, is that that's been removed. Right? The $150,000, that's what it represents. So just to be clear, the example is, if the board adopts this the way it is, School in the Woods the modulars would go away, a new building would be constructed, therefore meaning they would be ineligible for the formula dollars because they're getting everything they need new in the new facility. That's one example. There are several other examples. Most of the others have to do with the Learning Center and the programs that would move into the Learning Center. They're also moving into a brand new facility. They would be part of the team that would choose what goes in that facility. That's where their discretion or voice would be heard, is in that process, not additional dollars on top of the new facility.
I know we had a pretty extensive conversation about formula, and for clarity, since there are some GC&C numbers that were here, one of the things that we did as we looked at it in totality is we didn't make radical adjustments to the formula, but one of the adjustments we did make was, for example, on the list is Air Academy High School, and there's I think it's Wing B, there's a major renovation of Wing B. We figured if there's a major renovation with a lot of square footage that's being renovated, we're not going to we're not going to have some dollars. Part of the formula was square footage. And if you have a complete renovation of one part of a school, then we backed out that square footage because we thought that you would be double counting. You're going to get a new Wing B. You shouldn't get paid. The district should not get an allocation. I'm sorry, the school should not get an allocation for those square footage, for those square feet inside of that formula. And that's really the only adjustment that we made. Similar to Mr. Gregory's comments about if that goes for things such as School in the Woods also. So that's one of the adjustments that we made to the formula, really about the only adjustment we made to the formula.
And it's really adjustment to input, if you want to think about it. We left the formula exactly as is. We simply accounted for the idea that if you have a brand new building, it doesn't make sense to include fairness formula dollars for square footage that's, no longer there. So.
Mrs. Johnson.
Could we return to Mrs. Bullock's point regarding the LHS CTE? I'm concerned concerned that if it's not clear to a board member who's worked on this extensively, perhaps it won't be clear to others. So is there some suggested way of distinguishing the two, or do you agree with me that perhaps we should take another look at that to see if we can make it clearer?
Why don't we just indicate in there somehow that it's for equipment and like, so it's very clear
Yeah.
that it's for CTE equipment and educational.
One's a building and one's stuff that goes in it.
So like, you know, if you're buying lathes, that kind of stuff, they're gonna be expensive.
And you can't call it furniture because it's not,
Maybe equipment and fixtures.
yes.
I would agree to that. I like that. That's much more specific than improvements.
Want that in that goal?
However we would do it.
I would-
I think if we include equipment and fixtures, it'll be clear to people that that's what.
So we're talking about the line at the top of page 2, right, where it says improvements to LHS. I would just replace with the word improvements with equipment and fixtures for LHS to expand career and technical education.
Any other questions or comments?
So when did you say, or did we say, when are we going to prioritize these after we get the growth numbers?
We want to get all the growth numbers.
So in September, and October, right?
Getting those second week in September?
Approximately.
Okay.
But if we're voting on this tonight, is this what will go on the ballot in this order, or can we still change it?
But look,
Well,
this is not
This
ballot,
is not
this
ballot.
has nothing to do with the ballot.
Yeah.
This is a promise to your community that this is what you're going to do. It's on this page, in no priority order, but it's not, has nothing to do with what you see on the ballot. There is connection between the two, but that's why the next resolution is a whole separate resolution. This is not the ballot language or flows into the ballot language or anything.
I will put that the next resolution, I think.
And just to weigh in on that, I think if we can add verbiage on each and every page that says, not in any particular order, you know, I think that's clear enough to people that just still have some work to do.
Ms. Manning?
Mrs. Bullock, you got exactly at the point that I started with, that in no particular order, I want that added to each one of the page for that reason. Because I want it understood that when our community looks at this, my concern when I looked at it was, oh, the classical academies last. I don't want people to think that somehow, you know, they're not going to get anything for, you know, how many years, because we can't issue all the bonds at once. We need to make sure that people understand that this is simply categorized in a logical categorization that follows the recommendations of the GC&C, but that it's not in time order in any way. So, yeah, I think we're speaking to the same thing there, just to make sure that everybody understands. That we're just saying, this is what we believe the priorities are, and this is what we promise, you know, that we're going to do with this money, but not necessarily in this order, because we have a lot of work to do on that.
Mrs. Bill?
On the stadium improvements where it has the sign and then code compliance and question mark, I think that was just your notes. I don't think we want that on the final document, do we?
That was my notes.
Yeah.
I think you might want to take that out.
Yes.
So are we saying that code compliance is not a piece of that, and we want those two words removed, or? Yes.
Yeah,
But did we decide if that was a piece of that?
Well, we talked about a sign,
If it
but,
was allowed.
but I don't know that we talked about it in any dedicated fashion. Perhaps, I don't know if you want to I don't think we want to put a question mark after the word sign. I think
I think we can take everything after sign out.
Yeah.
can't build a sign that's not compliant with code.
Yeah, it's better to put it on there and then not, if we're not allowed to do a sign, then we'll just put that money elsewhere. Better to have it on there.
Any other questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I had just, I guess just for understanding, so the folks, many folks don't have the knowledge you do about all the work. But just to give some, shed some light or some understanding on the word priority that we're using. This proposes, or you can see that it adds up to $230 million. The reason that's important is we would not be able to issue $230 million at one time and complete all of these projects. The reason that's important as far as timing is that there will be a first issuance and we'll receive some dollars to do some projects with. A couple years later, there will be a second issuance. We'll receive additional dollars to do some additional projects. And a couple years later, these are all based on the projections at this time. A couple years later, a third issuance that receives some capital funding to do some more projects. That's what the timing piece and what's going to happen with that first issuance, what's going to happen inside of that second issuance, what's going to happen inside of that third issuance. That's why that's important, just for folks that may not understand what this discussion is about.
Well, and when the word priority is used as well, I think it's important to understand that in context, that there were hundreds of things on the list. So things rose to a higher priority, not in terms of when they got done, but that they got done in lieu of something else. And it's just, I think it's important to note that there were lots and lots and lots of things on the list that just couldn't, that's a good one.
Like I heard one person say 50 pounds out, it's a 10-pound bag.
Yeah.
I resemble that. Anything else?
I need one more thing, just to help Katrina and myself. First page title. We're going to change the title to add the date and year November 8, 2016 before the resolution number, and the resolution number will read 205-16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th paragraph down. Whereas now says Air Academy High School, and we will read whereas the GNC noted that Air Academy High School, and the next page, the 4th paragraph from bottom would read, the Board of Education recognizes the need for both additional high school capacity and significant improvements, repairs, and upgrades to existing elementary, middle, and high school buildings, but the board finds it unfeasible to construct a new high school and still meet the needs of existing schools, the Board of Education recommends increasing capacity at existing high schools. Page 1 of the attachment. Actually, this would apply to all pages of the attachment. Add to the header. These projects are in no particular order. They're not prioritized. I think the exact wording Ms. Van Meter was in no particular order. We can put that at the top of each of the pages in the header. Or further down in that page, refers to stadium improvements specific to D20 Stadium at Liberty. Remove the hyphen and code compliance question mark. And essentially, sign would be the last word, and the parentheses would close at that point. Page 2, the very first line currently reads improvements to LHS. Will change to read equipment and fixtures for LHS to expand career and technical education. Page 3, we're missing the word enrollment. We got in the kind of a header inside of the box that explains what the formula is about. It should say, sorry.
For sentences, see at the top of page 3, Academy Calvert Online, K-5, AK capitalized. Goes on, that's capitalized later.
Isn't that K8? Not K5?
Yes.
So that should be capital K-8.
We have the 6H is down lower, they're split
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, we did split it out, my mistake, I apologize.
So we have the word enrollment added in the formula, the narrative version of the formula. Excuse me. Capitalize the K on the first line that says Academy Calvert Online, K5. I have nothing on page 4 other than the continuation of the in no particular order in the header. And nothing on page 5.
Could I add one little tweak to the verbiage on about the Academy District, the 80-20 stadium? So that's page 1. Rather than the hyphen following the word turf, use a comma. So just take out all hyphens and just close paren after the sign, the word sign. That will be consistent throughout.
Oh, I see what you're
Is that
saying.
okay?
Replace turf, comma, add field hockey lines, comma.
Sign, close paren.
Yes.
Thank you.
Go on the remove hyphen, insert comma. Go ahead.
Talking major stuff.
We have a motion, we also have a second on an amended resolution as we provided input for the amendments. Go. Roll call, please.
Mr. Borland?
Aye.
Mrs. Bullock?
Aye.
Mrs. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Street?
Aye.
Mrs. Van Manen?
Aye.
Thank you. I promised a break. Let's take a very quick biological break. Very quick.
Get her a little control for this thing. Maybe they should put in a camera or something. I don't know. I'm just a cog. And that's what's attached there. I'm on that too. Okay.
All we know board members.
I would point out that the men are already seated at the dais.
I know. And like, hey, vice versa. Yeah. Yeah.
No.
You good? Back in session. Thank you. The next, I will read the resolution again and sit back and relax. We need a motion to approve resolution 206-16, approval of certification of ballot language for the 2016 bond question. I will now read the resolution. I'll ask for a motion. Resolution. This one's a little longer than the last one. Whereas the El Paso County School District Number 20 Academy in the County of El Paso and the State of Colorado, the district, is a public corporation duly organized and existing under the Constitution and the laws of the State of Colorado, and whereas the members of the Board of Education of the district, the board, have been duly elected, chosen, and qualified, and whereas Article 10, Section 20 of the Colorado Constitution, TABOR, requires voter approval for any new tax, the creation of any debt, and for spending certain monies above limits established by TABOR, and whereas the board has determined that it is in the interest of the district to provide the voters with the opportunity to decide whether to approve additional capital resources for school district capital projects improvements as described in section 4 below, all at a cost estimated at approximately $230 million per project. And whereas Tabor requires the district to submit ballot issues as defined in Tabor to the district's electors on limited election days before action can be taken on such ballot issues, and whereas November 8, 2016 is one of the election dates at which ballot issues may be submitted to the eligible electors of the district pursuant to Tabor, and whereas the county clerk and recorder, the county clerk in El Paso County, the county, will conduct the election on November 8, 2016 as a coordinated election, the election, and whereas it is necessary to submit to the eligible electors of the district at the election the proposition of creating general obligation indebtedness in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $230 million to finance the project and increasing taxes to pay such debt, and whereas the district will not have held more than one election on the question of contracting the bonded indebtedness for any purpose within the 12 months immediately preceding the election herein called. Now therefore be resolved by the Board of Education of El Paso County, School District 20, School District number 20, Academy, in the County of El Paso and the State of Colorado. Section 1. All action heretofore taken, not consistent with the provisions of this resolution, by the district and the offices thereof, directed towards the election, the project, and the objects and purposes herein stated are ratified, approved, and confirmed. Unless otherwise defined herein, all terms used herein shall have the meanings specified in section 22-42-101 CRS or section 1-1-104 CRS. Section 2, the election shall be conducted as a coordinated election in the county pursuant to Tabor, Article 42 of Title 22 CRS and the Uniform Election Code of 1992 and all laws amendatory thereof and the supplemental thereto. The election shall be conducted by the county clerk of the county. The district hereby determines that the election shall be held on November 8, 2016, and that there shall be submitted to the eligible electors of the district the questions set forth herein. Because the election will be held as part of the coordinated election, the board hereby determines that the county clerk shall conduct the election on behalf of the district pursuant to the Uniform Election Code of 1992. Section 3. The total aggregate principal amount of indebtedness to be incurred from time to time for the portion of the project to be acquired pursuant to this resolution shall not exceed the sum of $230 million. Section 4. The board hereby authorizes and directs the officers of the district to certify on or before September 9th, 2016, the following question in substantially the form hereinafter set forth to the county clerk. Such question shall be submitted to the eligible electors of the district at the election. Bond question. Shall El Paso County School District number 20, Academy, debt be increased $230 million with a repayment cost of not more than $387 million, and shall district taxes be increased not more than $22 million annually, with no expected increase in the district's current total mill levy rate of 60.216 mills, approved by the voters in 1999, based on the district's projected assessed values, and shall such debt be issued for capital improvement purposes, including but not limited to constructing and equipping 2 new elementary schools, 1 new middle school, and a center for innovative learning, making additions to and removing modular classrooms from Discovery Canyon campus, Liberty High School, Pine Creek High School, and School in the Woods, remodeling Air Academy High School, Challenger Middle School, and Rampart High School, updating technology infrastructure at all schools and for all students, providing improvements to all existing elementary, middle, and high schools and facilities, including the Classical Academy Charter School, provided that all expenditures shall be in conformance with Academy School District number 20, Board of Education Resolution number 205-16, adopted on August 18, 2016. Such debt to be evidenced by the issuance and payment of general obligation bonds, which shall bear interest, mature, and be subject to redemption, with or without premium of not to exceed 3%, and be issued, dated, and sold at such time or times, at such prices, at, above, or below par, and in such manner and containing such terms not inconsistent herewith, as the district may determine, and shall ad valorem property taxes be levied in any year without limitation as to rate, to pay the principal of the premium, or pay the principal of premium, if any, and interest on such bonds, and any bonds issued to refinance such bonds, and to fund any reserves for the payment thereof. Can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Discussion, questions, comments?
I just want to say I'm very excited about the opportunity to vote on this resolution. I think this is extremely important for the children of our district and to honor the work of the Growth and Capital Needs Committee. There were hundreds of people involved in determining the needs of our district and seeing for themselves with their own eyes and visiting those schools. I'm very pleased to be a part of it. I'm disappointed though that unfortunately what I have to vote on, because of Tabor and the way the law is constructed, we have to vote on a resolution that states in the very beginning that that district taxes shall be increased, not more than $22 million annually. And we talked with our bond counsel about that, and we raked the poor lady over the coals trying to find another way to state this, because unfortunately, the way Tabor is written, if you are not reducing taxes, you are increasing them. And all we are doing is asking the voters to continue their current level of support for the district. We passed our own cap years ago. It's capped at 60.216 mils. This board has no intention of ever going back to the voters at this time and asking for a change in that cap. We're going to stay within that cap, and we're simply asking our voters to continue their current levels of support. So as I said, my hat is off to our bond attorney because she did the very best that she could with this language. We've put together the best resolution we have. But that's the most challenging part about this. I believe that Tabor, the idea behind Tabor is good. It's to encourage all of our citizens to always vote on an increase in taxes. However, everything is proposed as an increase and everything is proposed in negative language, and it misleads people. So I know that after we vote for this, we will have people who say, but you said you weren't increasing our tax rate, and it says that our taxes are going to be increased. So we have some explanation. We will have to work with our community on that. But I have to say that this is just the very best that we can do within our legal limits.
Go ahead, Mr. Borland.
As a public servant of 35 plus years and a student of public administration, I feel compelled to say that legal taxation, far from being theft, is the way that democratic republics fund the things that they have to do. It's how we provide for the common good. The most important common good we can provide for is the education of our children. And while I respect Mr. Kelly and appreciate his points of view, it is in no way theft for the people of Academy District 20 to approve taxing themselves to fund public education. I'll be voting for this.
Mrs. Johnson.
I am humbled, honored, and pleased to be a part of bringing this resolution to our community. I think it will accomplish great good. I also plan on supporting it wholeheartedly. It is so auspicious an occasion, and I've been looking forward to this evening, this meeting for a long time. I can't thank all those who contributed adequately, and I know you're a multitude, but it has been, your efforts have come to this culmination, and I think it is something of which we can all be proud.
I'm just going to piggyback on to what Mr. Borland said. I'm fiscally very, very conservative. I'm not a big fan of taxes.